did you even ask the owner of this house for permission? The question left my mouth with a calm I hadn't expected. I had just opened the door to my condo, grocery bags still dangling from my arms, and there she was. Chloe, my daughter-in-law, standing right in the middle of my living room as if it were nothing. There were 2 enormous suitcases at her feet and an expression that mixed surprise with something worse. I stood there on the threshold of my own home, holding the heavy bags filled with the produce and canned goods, waiting for an answer she clearly hadn't prepared. "Hey, Ava, I didn't hear you come in." Her voice sounded light, almost musical, as if we were having a casual conversation about the weather, as the suitcases didn't exist, as if it were completely normal for her to be in my condo on a Thursday afternoon without warning me, without asking, without showing the slightest consideration for the fact that this was my space, my refuge, the only place in the world where I could still breathe without anyone demanding anything of me. I didn't move. I stayed right there in the doorway, feeling the weight of the bags beginning to leave red marks on my forearms. But I didn't drop them. Something inside me had hardened the exact moment I saw those suitcases. Something that had been soft, pliable, always ready to give in. For years, I had finally found a boundary. "I asked you a question, Chloe." My voice came out firmer this time. She tucked a strand of her perfectly styled hair behind her ear. That gesture she made when she needed to stall for time to think about what to say. Her eyes, painted with light shadows that matched her designer blouse, avoided mine for a second before she looked back at me with that small, condescending smile I despised so much. "Ava, please don't exaggerate. Dion and I only need to stay for a few days. They're doing renovations in our condo, and the noise is unbearable. The crew starts at 6 a.m. and doesn't leave until 7 p.m. We can't sleep. We can't work. We can't live like this. We figured it wouldn't be a problem to come here. After all, you live alone, and you have 2 bedrooms you don't even use." There it was, that one sentence that perfectly summed up what my family thought of me. You live alone, and you have rooms you don't use. As if my life were an empty space waiting to be filled by the needs of others. As if the fact that no one was sleeping in the rooms next door automatically turned my home into a resource available to whoever needed it. As if my 68 years of existence didn't grant me the right to decide how, when, or with whom to share my space. I finally walked into the apartment and set the bags on the dining room table. The sound of the canned goods hitting the wood was louder than I'd expected. Chloe took a step back, barely perceptible, but I noticed it. Her body language had changed. She wasn't so relaxed anymore. The discomfort was starting to filter through the mask of security she always wore. I stood beside the table, not unpacking the groceries, not moving toward the kitchen as I normally would. My hands rested on the wooden surface, and I could feel my own pulse beating in my fingertips. It wasn't fear. It wasn't nerves. It was something different. It was the feeling of reaching a point of no return. Does Dion know you're here? The question was rhetorical. I already knew the answer, but I needed to hear it. I needed to confirm what I already suspected, that my son had allowed this, that he had been part of this plan from the start, that they had both decided together that my consent wasn't necessary. Chloe let out a long, dramatic sigh, as if I were being unreasonably difficult. Of course, he knows Ava. It was his idea. Actually, he's finishing up some business at the office and will be over later. With the rest of our stuff, I thought he'd have called to tell you. He didn't call. No, he didn't call. And all that silence, that absence of a simple phone call, told me everything I needed to know. My son, Dion, the child I'd raised alone after his father disappeared from our lives when he was only 7 years old. The same one I fed with the salary from my double shifts, cleaning offices and serving coffee. The same one who hugged me when he was little and said that when he grew up, he would take care of me forever. That very son now considered it perfectly acceptable to move into my house without consulting me, as if I were an extension of his convenience, a resource at his disposal. I walked toward the suitcases. I stood in front of them, staring as if they were alien objects dropped from another planet. They are expensive, like those brands Chloe flaunted on social media. Shiny, new, probably bought during one of those trips they took every couple of months while I was still using the same worn out suitcase I had bought 15 years ago at a liquidation sale. And you thought this was okay? Showing up at my house with your suitcases without asking if I was agreeable, without considering for even a moment that maybe I had plans, that maybe I value my privacy, that maybe I don't want people living here. Chloe crossed her arms over her chest. Her posture changed. She was no longer the casual, relaxed daughter-in-law. Now there was defensiveness in every line of her body. Ava, you're Dion's mother. We're family. I don't understand why you're making this so complicated. It's only for a few days, maybe a week. It's not like we're asking for something impossible. Besides, I thought you'd be happy to have company. You always say this place feels empty. Empty. The word echoed in my head like a funeral bell. Oh yes, I had once mentioned that the house felt silent after my sister Olivia moved out to live with her daughter last year. But there was an enormous difference between silence and empty. My house was silent because I chose it that way. Because after decades of noise, of demands, of being available to everyone but myself, I had finally found peace in the stillness. But Chloe had taken that casual confession and turned it into a justification, as if my moment of vulnerability gave her permission to invade my space, as if admitting I sometimes felt lonely was the same as begging someone to come fill every corner of my life without asking me first. Listen to me closely. Oh no, my voice was low but firm. Chloe stopped moving. Something in my tone made her pay real attention for the first time since she'd arrived. This house can feel however it wants to fall to me. It can be silent or it can be full of noise. It can be empty or it can be complete. But what it will never ever be is available to anyone who decides to use it. And my permission. I am the owner of this house, Chloe. Not let a convenient option when you two have a problem. She opened her mouth to reply. But at that moment, we heard the sound of a key in the lock. The door opened and Dion, my son, walked in carrying 2 more bags and wearing that carefree smile he used when he thought everything was under control. Mom, glad you're home. Chloe explained it to you, right? We'll only be here for a week, 2 at the most. You won't even notice we're here. Don's words floated in the air as if they were the most reasonable thing in the world. He set the bags on the floor next to the suitcases, dusted his hands on his pants, and looked at me with that expression I knew too well. It was the same look he had when he was 12 years old and came home late after playing basketball with his friends, expecting me not to get mad because he was just being a normal kid after all. Except Dion wasn't 12 anymore. He was 42. And I was no longer that young, exhausted mother who gave in to every smile because I was too tired to fight another battle. I stood by the dining room table, my hands still resting on the wood, watching him enter my condo, as if it were his own territory, as if the last 40 years hadn't passed, as if continuing to be his mother meant I had automatically surrendered any expectation of respect or his consideration. Dion approached and tried to give me a kiss on the cheek. I didn't move. I didn't pull away, but I didn't lean in either. I stayed exactly where I was. And he must have noticed something in my posture because he stopped halfway, a look of confusion briefly, crossing his face before turning into a wider, more forced smile. "What's wrong, Mom? Did you have a bad day?" A bad day? As if my reaction were the result of a passing mood. As if the problem was that I'd had to wait too long in line at the bank, or that traffic had been heavy. Not that my son and daughter-in-law had decided to move into my home without consulting me. Not that they had treated me as if my opinion were irrelevant. Not that they had assumed my life, my space, my peace were resources available for their convenience. I didn't have a bad day, Dawn. I had an unpleasant surprise when I got home to find your wife moving in here without anyone asking me if I agreed. Dion chuckled a genuine laugh as if he just heard something funny. He ran a hand through his hair, that gesture he